of an Indiana, Washington State, and other areas, when the police are asked, why do you have these MRAPs, these armored vehicles from the Pentagon, they say, we need to be able to fight sovereign citizens or libertarians or the Tea Party. Now, just add that to all the training manuals and all the admissions, and then we start getting footage from Florida and California and other states this week that we've been airing, and every time we get footage, they're training to attack and beat and arrest and shoot and kill patriots. And then now we have chilling footage of armed Army forces, National Guard, blocking roads in California and marching around, basically commanding the public. This is what a slow-motion martial law scenario looks like. And I want to explain something. It isn't that martial law is coming. We're under a form of martial law when the feds seized the airports and started searching everyone. We're under martial law when the president dissolves the borders outside of law. We're under tyranny when they sign us on to over half the global derivatives debt that is private and not ours. Do you understand every other country in history has ended up falling to criminal elements inside the government that militarize the police and merge the military with the police? The military fights and kills and breaks things. The military fights a foreign enemy. Police keep the peace and are peace officers and report to the local government and bring people in who have been indicted, who there's an arrest warrant out for. But in this new third world system that we're going into, there is a massive program, no exaggeration, it's got to be 50 times bigger than the Manhattan Project, that they've been keeping quasi-secret because they don't want to have a public debate about militarization of police and all that's happening and the NSA spying. So they just deny it, deny it, deny it. That was in The Guardian yesterday, that federal agencies have a policy of lying. There's no Stingray. There's no NSA. There's no plan to take your guns. There's no gun confiscations happening. This is not an assault. This is not an attack. So we're always debating with them whether it's happening or not, and they have this moral authority. There's no helicopters. There's no drills. Remember that going on 20 years ago, 15 years ago? We'd get the footage. I'd be attacked on hard copy, on Extra, on CNN, on Fox News, in the Associated Press, local papers. I would go to these drills and have them break in my hotel room, harass me, try to set me up, just because they didn't want the public to know that they were there federalizing police and training them with the military. But now it's, of course we are, and we come in peace. But InfoWars, you can't come to our drill. Well, citizen reporters still go, and you're trying to take on the Tea Party. Well, I mean, sure, duh, we have veterans. Here it is.
Well, conspiracy theories are running wild tonight about the Army's plan for a multi-state training exercise this summer called Jade Helm 15. While the military says it's just training soldiers for the realities of war, critics say the Army is preparing for modern-day martial law.
We really didn't have the violence that we see today. The weaponry is totally different now than it was in the beginning of my career.
That's Indiana.
Plus, you have a lot of people that are coming out of the military that have the ability and the knowledge to build IEDs.
They've done nothing, and you blame them.
Law enforcement techniques.
See, folks, then video of them 2 days ago, training to attack sovereign citizens.
They're training exactly for what.
And send it forward!
I'm a sovereign citizen. I refuse to recognize you guys. I refuse to recognize you.
That was interesting.
The nice thing about this piece of equipment is that if somebody is directing fire toward a team that's trying to get in, they can pull right up to a front. Take enemy fire and still try to address a threat without being fear of getting shot.
So I'm thinking that is totally appropriate in Iraq, but what kind of a situation in the U.S. would you see that happening?
I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition. I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition. They have weapons here locally.
So what happens if the PLR take over? A country run by terrorists ain't good.
Bro, America was founded by terrorists for terrorists. What do you think the fucking Revolutionary War was? History is determined by the victor.
How did you even get into the Marines?
Who was the first terrorist organization in the United States? Who? Founding Fathers. You mean Thomas Jefferson? You mean George Washington? Paul Revere? These guys right here, let me ask you something. Did they try to scare people? They tried to intimidate the British. Did they use acts of violence? Your founding fathers, my founding fathers, were involved in acts of terrorism against British officials.
Jade Helm troops to operate undetected amongst civilian population. And of course, the military people and the vets are not buying any of it. They're not stupid. You can read about how it's to get the hearts and minds and how to get the public used to working and the local police working with the military. I mean, everybody who's been in the military knows about the secret EOD program going on for 18 years. Their whole ordnance disposal, quote, the Army's going to show up to defuse a bomb. But then you get the internal agreements. It's for everything from warrant service to checkpoints with military personnel in nondescript blue jumpsuits, just like the Army Ranger called in and said they were wearing EPA blue jumpsuits. It's always blue or tan jumpsuits. And it might say EPA, it might say police, it might say Park Service. Training with the police, training with locals in plain clothes, quote, doing suspicious activities, is to train the police to work with the military in covert operations and to condition the military to accept it and to condition the public to accept it. And then when we cover it and talk about it, they practice the PSYOP in real time, putting out disinformation. I can see the script from Army Times to military.com to Stars and Stripes to Bloomberg to Daily Beast to Vice to the Houston Chronicle, and no exaggeration today. You go search Jade Helm. There are now hundreds of articles, and in almost all of them, yours truly is being demonized. Jones, who's warned of an imminent takeover for decades, keeps claiming it's going to happen, but of course it never does. No,
Jade Helm decoded. That's the focus of this edition of Breaking Point on the Next News Network. Local media is reporting that citizens of Big Spring, Texas, have seen helicopters and tanks moving into their town. This comes just a month after Thomas Meade spoke to the Big Spring City Council asking for their
interfacing with the hospitals.
So we know now by this admission that they will be ready for any casualties that arise from the event and that local law enforcement will be conditioned to interface with the DoD. Now, Meade stated that some of the soldiers will in large part be undetectable despite one specific item of clothing.
The first brown shirts with their swastika armbands stride arrogantly into the meeting.
That for us, that's one of the big things. We make sure that all of our guys have some type of marking that they'll all be wearing an armband with a marking that identifies them as part of the exercise. And if we have role players, for example, a landowner or a business owner who is participating in the exercise, we'll ensure that they have marking as well, that they're part of the exercise.
So there you have it. In a nutshell, U.S. military coordinating with local law enforcement and elements of the willing public. They'll be conducting clandestine activities, carrying weapons under aircraft cover at night, wearing armbands with a special insignia for 2 months across 10 states. This is by far the greatest public conditioning exercise in American history. This, as the world watches Cheyenne Mountain reopening in anticipation of an EMP attack and key operations of the New York Federal Reserve moving to Chicago in the event of a natural disaster. Now, the event that is truly on the horizon is anyone's guess. However, one thing is for sure, troops will be ready and trained to take over your town when it happens. If you happen to live in any of the states where Jade Helm is occurring, please share this video with a neighbor or friend to give them a heads up. Also, if you see something, say something.
Foreign territory.
I was just concerned with the increasing indications that the military is getting a little too involved with local law enforcement. First of all, we got this military assault vehicle that assigned to our sheriff's department, and then we have all these strange things happening, coming in here like this military operation, which is not new for our county because we have Camp Swift and I have helicopters flying over my property all the time. I don't have any problem with that. The thing that the indications that are happening that they're getting so involved that it does appear there's some martial law intent.
You know, I think one concern of mine is, well, first of all, I grew up here. I know Camp Swift is a big military base, so I am used to seeing people in uniform, and I have utmost respect for people in uniform and their sacrifice. I think what concerns me the most is I'm a student of history, and I know that that governments go tyrannical, and I know that also our government through the Homeland Security has labeled people. Like the kinds of people that live in Bastrop that are conservative, gun owners, libertarians, veterans, the government's labeled those people as potential terrorists. And so I do see an odd correlation between a huge military buildup and a hostile designation for the state of Texas in this area. I mean, it's not happening.